Guys.
Everybody.
Hello.
It's not morning, it's lunchtime. It's everybody's lunch break. We're excited to dive in today to the topic of small businesses and what 2020 has done and what we've experienced in 2020 with us as small business owners. We're going to start with just a real quick poll and ask you guys, just so that we know our audience, what your experience, how you're joining today. Are you joining as a business owner, an employee, a student, just someone who's concerned about small businesses? Let us know how you're joining so we kind of know how to tailor our conversation. I'm going to start our presentation here and let my colleagues, my wonderful colleagues, Rob and Natasha, introduce themselves. Rob, you're the first one on my screen, so if you'll just give yourself a quick introduction, let us know who you are.
Sure. Hey, everybody. My name is Rob Touchstone, and I teach in our College of Business and direct our Center for Business as Mission. And so I'm really happy to be here with you guys today. I also am the co-founder of the Well Coffee House, and we'll share a little bit from my experiences there as well.
Okay, Natasha?
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Natasha Johnson, and I'm an instructor for management in the College of Business at Lipscomb. And I also am the owner of the Beignet Bar. And so I'm really excited to be a part of this call today and this webinar. And thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you, guys. My name is Lauren Kingston. I am new faculty at Lipscomb as well, and teach in the Business as Mission Center, and I spend a lot of time in the missions department as well. We are here to just give hope, some encouragement. We have experienced some incredible challenges this year, and I promise you that today you will not hear the word unprecedented. We have boycotted that word from our vocabulary. So that what I just said is the last time you'll hear that. But we are in unique times for sure. And so as we get started today, I just want to give you a couple of little tips. You can actually click on the gallery view wherever you're viewing, and you'll be able to see the images of everyone who's joining us that has their camera on, so we can feel a little bit more communal through the screen. And also, now that I've started a new presentation, if you push the escape button, if you're a multitasker, or if you want to be able to see what's going on for your whole computer, laptop, you can push the escape button on your keyboard and also be able to access all the different functions of Zoom. We are going to start this morning, and Rob and Natasha, I'll let you know, I can't actually see the question and answer option over there because I'm sharing as a presenter. So if you guys can keep an eye on that, that'd be great. Our hearts have really gone out to the small business community, because we are, as small business owners, and all three of us are small business owners, we are all seeing the effects of an economic crisis, and we want to encourage everyone with ways to pivot and persevere through the challenges that we're facing. So can I ask Rob and Natasha just to give us a really quick overview of what your specific businesses have experienced since February, March, and something maybe possibly even good that's come out of it for your businesses?
Sure. I'd be happy to speak into that. So as a part of the Well over the last few months, there were certainly days early on when we wondered if the business would be able to continue. I think there's something that maybe a lot of small business owners felt, and that was obviously fear, but also the reality that this might be the end of the road in the journey. And so over the last several months, it's been a roller coaster of ups and downs, and trying to figure out where we're going to get capital to carry on. And so there were unique challenges as a retail, as an outlet, brick and mortar that depends upon physical customers coming into a store to sit down and to enjoy the products that we serve. So we had to get creative, we had to be innovative, and we had to figure out new ways of being, to put it mildly. And some of the things that we'll share throughout this presentation and discussion are the ways maybe that businesses can learn to think a bit more like they did in the beginning when they were embracing their entrepreneurial roots. So for us, it was somewhat of a return to our entrepreneurial roots, going back to what got us there to begin with. And so we had to be innovative in thinking about additional revenue streams. We had to get good at things that we weren't good at before. And by the grace of God, we have been able to push through the crisis as best we can, and we're still operating and are hopeful for the future.
Well, we happen to be kind of in a unique position because we have a food truck. And so I know you asked about specifically the impacts of COVID, but if I can maybe rewind just a little bit, maybe a few weeks prior to that, we experienced a massive tornado in the city. And for us, you have to pre-schedule your locations for food truck venues, and a lot of those were impacted severely through the tornadoes. And then following that, the impacts of COVID and having to shut down a lot of businesses. So the shutdown of other businesses, in essence, in many ways, impacted us in that way. But to Rob's point about being able to be agile and flexible and even really creative in continuing to be productive in this time, it's been an opportunity to hit the reset button on some things, and to also be able to create new recipes and learn new ways of doing things. And so that has been the plus side or the bright side in this crisis that we all found ourselves in.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I realize that every sector of the business world has been affected in different ways, and the food and beverage industry that you guys are both in has experienced some real challenges. I love that. I live in Columbia, Tennessee, and so I'll speak into what our community has done to surround and rally around small businesses. But my church has had a food truck month, where this month we've had different food trucks from town come and set up after services. So even if you're logging in remotely, we're just saying, come and drive through the parking lot and support our small businesses and our local food trucks. So there have been some really creative ways that people have rallied around small businesses. I want to touch first on what you guys have both hit on, and that is what made us business owners in the first place, this entrepreneurial spirit, that there was something missing from the marketplace and we felt like we could fill a gap. And so the process of actually launching a business, the grit and the late nights that it takes to launch a heart project into the world in the form of a business is something that we've had training in, but 2020 has really forced us to remember those characteristics that we have that help us keep our businesses alive. So why don't you speak into this entrepreneurial spirit that I think a lot of people logging on are accustomed to and familiar with, but how can you encourage us that we have what it takes to push through this year, even with the challenges?
Yeah, thank you, Lauren. I think that when we start a business, we have a real sense of that entrepreneurial spirit. And then over time, it can become a little bit diluted or lost as we get into routines and develop patterns, and we can become more predictable and our projections get a little bit better. But what I think this crisis has done, and not just this one, but other crises in addition to just COVID, it's helped us to return to those entrepreneurial roots. So that's part of what a crisis does, is it helps you to go back to where you started. And I think in this case, it's helped us to get a better understanding of how valuable the very thing that we're a part of is. There's something about a crisis where you look the end almost directly in the eye and you deal with the reality, like this could be the end of the dream or the end of the vision. There's something about that even though it's terribly intimidating, there's some clarity that starts to develop where you say, I now realize maybe more than ever how valuable this journey has been and how valuable this organization is to me. And so that's what happens in a crisis. It kind of prunes away some of the things that maybe needed to be pruned. So that entrepreneurial spirit that generally gets a business there is about lean thinking, oftentimes innovative thinking, being adaptive, being creative. And so what this crisis, especially the pandemic, has helped us to do is to go back to those roots and say, we have to learn to be innovative again. We have to adapt. We can't do things the way they were done before. So I challenged and encouraged our team at the Well to say, we've got to be entrepreneurs again. I mean, we are going to think like we did 8 years ago in the startup phase, and we're going to think like entrepreneurs again. And we're going to learn to adapt and to iterate, and we're going to build some new solutions to what have become new problems. And I think that embrace is part of what can help us, all of us that are engaged in small business, to really push through. There's something really important about those entrepreneurial roots that got us where we are. And sometimes one of the best things that we can do is to go back to those and to emerge through a crisis. I think that's just vital to do.
It's really enlightening and informative to be able to kind of hear other perspectives. Obviously, the Well has been around for some years now, and our contrast to that is we are still fairly new. We're still kind of in the baby phases, and so for us, we are not. We're not having to reminisce so far back on how and why we became entrepreneurs, but I think the value in that is that this is only amplifying, the circumstances of today are only amplifying the reasons for why we decided to launch this business and to be able to really still have the ability to lean on mentors and those who have been kind of behind the scenes supporting, even from the focus group days of this particular entity. And so, all the things that you love about being an entrepreneur and that allow you to be able to explore new dimensions. I think it's a fascinating time because we haven't had any kind of long-term process that we've been ingrained to view things a certain way or to do things a certain way. So to kind of switch on a dime in this setting for us has been what seems like part of the process, right? You figure out what works and what doesn't, and get rid of what doesn't, and you pivot to what does. And so this has really been, and that's the space you can do it in as an entrepreneur. When you're an entrepreneur, you may not have as much latitude to figure things out as you go, because you're working for an organization that already kind of has that structure set up and those processes set up. But in the entrepreneur space, you kind of give yourself permission to, hit your head a few times or to, rise to the challenge to overcome them and that kind of thing. And so, I'm grateful for this opportunity and this time because it has allowed us to be able to recognize and embrace why we chose this path, and so that's been really great.
Thank you guys so much. We're going back to our roots, really, and some of us don't want to go back there because that was a hard time when we were launching our business, and we are losing a lot of sleep, and we are stressing about how money's going to come in. For those of us who have employees, how are we going to keep food on the tables of their families? And there's so much at stake if we aren't doing a quality job as leaders of businesses to keep the marketplace fresh and moving. And I know that the economic stresses of our nation and of the world, the supply chain issues we've experienced, there's plenty of things to keep us awake at night. There are so many misconceptions about small businesses. And I know in my town and in people who have interviewed me or asked about my experience in business too, there's this assumption that if you're a business owner, that you are raking in the cash. And it's a fight for every dollar. It's a fight for every time someone can pick up this phone and get on an app from a larger corporation and get something delivered to their door by the next morning. For those of us with smaller businesses, it takes a lot of curating content to help us have this conversation, shop local. And this is what I'm about to share is absolutely nothing derogatory. I mean, nothing derogatory about larger corporations, because I am a patron of those organizations, and I'm so thankful for the Chick-fil-A drive-through right now. It has sustained my family through the long weeks. So this is in no way meant to minimalize the dependence that we have on larger successful corporations, and they are experiencing their own challenges in this season for sure. But what do you guys think about this conversation around consumerism, and how do we talk with our people in our own communities, encouraging them to shop local? Do you guys have ideas of ways that you've seen businesses really utilize this conversation? And what are you noticing consumers are valuing today more than maybe before?
Yeah, this has created a bit more of a mutual, I guess, a more mutually beneficial way of thinking about the relationship between the business and the customer. You know, it's easy as a business to think of your customer as, of course, someone that you want to serve and provide tremendous customer service to. But at the end of the day, sometimes you forget how valuable they are to you. And what this crisis has created is a true dependency upon the customer. You realize that without the customer, you don't have a business. And that's what you should always hold in mind. But sometimes in a crisis, that becomes more clear than ever. And what I've discovered is just how badly the customer wants to connect with the business and wants the business to succeed. So I've seen all kinds of stories emerge where people who are patrons of a business, who are customers of a business, say that they will go out of their way to support their local business by buying gift cards, or by maybe ordering something if it's something that's partnered with Uber Eats or Postmates. They'll go out of their way to order through those apps, even though it's a little more expensive to do that, because they want to support the business. And so I think part of the exciting challenge that we have as small businesses is giving our customers a way to connect with us, giving them an on-ramp to support us. I know in our case, we had people even that wanted to give and donate toward to give capital toward what we needed to carry on through some of the tremendous economic challenges that we were facing as we were experiencing a 30% quick downturn in our revenue. And so we had people that wanted to get involved and were asking, how can we support you? So I think it's important that we give an on-ramp there. So there's no doubt that our customers, in some ways, they vote every time when they purchase from us upon their need for our products and services. But this has revealed how much we need them as well. And I love that mutual benefit that a business and a patron can experience together. So I think part of this this crisis too has created a real focus on our unique value proposition. So in the beginning phase, you focus on what can set you apart, what can make you unique from the very beginning. But now the question is, what can set us apart during crisis? So how do we stand out in the way that we respond to our customers during crisis? And so I love the opportunities this has created to more deeply connect on maybe even a more emotional level with our customers. Because you get to see the customers' deep concern. They truly want you to stay in business, and they truly want your products and services. And so to me, it's a real neat opportunity, even though it's tremendously hard, to strengthen the relationship between business and customer.
I love that, Rob. The understanding of being able to demonstrate the value that we place on our customers, and even extending that internally with our teams. We are in a unique position in that, like many other food trucks and food and beverage restaurants have, been in a position to decide conscientiously how can we, in the midst of what's happening, best serve and protect our customers. For some, that has been through, as Rob mentioned, creatively creating opportunities for the customers to continue to come in and obtain products and services. For others, it's been to, to close down, and it's not for the purpose of is not for the long term or for an indefinite time period, but B is also not to it's not to seclude customers from being able to get your products and services. It really comes back to foundational thinking of putting people over profits, and so in many respects, there are businesses that have had to really follow that line of strategy and thinking. And so one of the encouragements for consumers, for businesses like that, are that, you do continue to support them when they come back out or when they roll back out. And this is from businesses that have only been open for a year or two to businesses that have been open for several years. That relationship capital that has been established from the offset, I think, or from the outset, I think is going to be very important and critical throughout. And so I love the concept of shopping local, because there are a lot of businesses that have been impacted different ways at different levels, and not all, particularly food trucks, are family owned or family operated, where everyone that is a part of the operation is coming from the same address, and then after work going back home to the same address. You might have different people coming from different places, and so and there's real concern, even amongst team members sometimes, just like consumers have concerns as well. And so just really trying to balance all of those and prioritize what service looks like with them in mind. And so to serve and to protect, in some regards, may look like that business has to shut down for a little while. For others, it may be that there is a set of circumstances that permit them to allow customers to continue to engage regularly, obviously following recommended guidelines. But the shop local, it's part of the fabric of who we are, even as Southerners, and particularly Nashvillians, to provide support and aid for each other in the midst of this. And not just like I have found myself, even in the midst of this pandemic, increasing my support for, and I've supported them before, but increasing my support intentionally, making sure that I purchase with small businesses that are local in various regards. So I think that all of that speaks to this culture that helps us to prioritize and support and champion for our customers.
Yeah, I wanted to reflect on something there too, Natasha. I think there's a level of transparency too between the customer and the business that this opens up. I know when we were first starting to experience the downturn, I put something out on social media on behalf of the Well that just said, look, here's the reality. Let's just talk openly about this. We're a social enterprise, and we serve a product that is designed to be purchased and enjoyed in a social setting so that we can make a social impact. But we're doing this in a time of social distancing. And so I just laid it out there sort of before the customer base to say, let's think about the connections here. This is the challenge in a reality that says the way we do business is going to have to change. So we're not going to be able to serve you in the same way that we were that you're used to and that we're used to in a social setting where you can sit across the table with 3 or 4 other people and you can enjoy the relationship that goes along with the product. We're going to have to do that in a different way. And so I think there's something really healthy about that transparency, just to say, you know, as we build loyalty with customers, and again, as we encourage them to shop locally, I think that's almost a confession, to put it in a little bit of a theological term, where the business is confessing, in a sense, we need you as the customer. We truly need you. We can't survive without you. And it's a gift that you choose to shop with us. And serving you is truly an expression of our gratitude for you being our customer. And so I think, again, it enhances the ability to further relate to, build a deeper relationship with your customer, and hopefully build a deeper loyalty. I know that's some of what we've experienced in our own journey. And so I hope for anybody that's tuning in to this today can find some encouragement, even in the midst of a crisis, in the strengthening of relationships with your customers, because they do want to connect. They want to know you more. They want to feel like they're a part of that struggle with you. And I think sometimes it's easy to forget. We get so transactional that we forget about the transformational part of that experience. And so this is a great reminder on both sides of the equation when it comes to the business and the customer.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, guys. I'm going to brag on my hometown down here a little bit. We're way down here south, down in Columbia, but our city officials and our chamber has just done the most remarkable job of standing alongside and highlighting some of the businesses in our town. And so if anyone's logging on as a business owner, I know we have a couple of those, and those of us who are wanting to start businesses, just engaging with our local city officials and our chambers of commerce to rally behind a narrative that is pride in our towns and pride in the businesses that make our towns what they are, because we are all affected. I mean, the marketplace brings us all together. That is something that unites everyone because we are all reliant on the marketplace. So I wanted to highlight that and just say, as business owners, when we share generously with other businesses, I think it creates this mutuality, like you were talking about, Rob, but from business to business as well. And so not trying to snatch the whole marketplace for ourselves, but the more generous you are with highlighting other businesses or your neighbor businesses or collaborating on different projects, I think that helps the consumer base and our patrons to realize that we are not just generous in what we're offering to the marketplace, but what we want to share with our fellow business owners as well. So that mutuality is really important. And I just can't say enough about forming a whole narrative around shopping local. Instagram came out with some new stickers as soon as COVID happened and we were all at home. You know, Instagram had stickers where you could highlight the small businesses that you were promoting. But this narrative is strong, but it does take crafting and it does take extra energy, which a lot of small business owners don't have because they're trying to push the operations every day. So I think that's a really important part of this conversation. Something else that we've discussed is that possible new opportunities that we have to access capital. It may be that in some ways your business is poised to grow during the season where traditionally it would be, just business as usual. But I know some businesses have really pivoted and grown during the season. And so what types of access to capital do we have at our fingertips? You may want to expound on the PPP, but there are other options of ways to access capital right now that people might want to consider. What do you guys think about those, or how do you want to speak into that?
Yeah, I'll jump in for a minute there because I think one of the opportunities that has been created that's counterintuitive right now is the possibility of growth. It seems like the worst time in the world to scale right now, but because there is just a very unusual access to capital and I know when we talk about loans and debt that not everybody has the same opinion and thoughts on that. So we're not necessarily recommending you go out and take a loan if that doesn't make sense for your business. But there are some incredible opportunities to access capital right now that probably will not be available again like they are right now for a very long time. And so I know for some businesses that are already thinking about not only how to emerge from this crisis, but to also continue to grow, there could be some considerations to take a small business loan at a very low interest rate, because there is capital that's more readily available. And then, of course, through the grants and aid that's out there, taking advantage of those is so important. And part of that is just being aware of what's out there. So sometimes it can be confusing. Sometimes it's hard to figure out what's true and what's not. But it's so important to try to stay tuned in to what's being offered, especially right now through the government and through the Small Business Association. I know we've been able to access or at least hear more about these opportunities for small business loans, while also tapping into the PPP funds that have been made available by the government. And that has been truly helpful and a lifesaver for our business at the Well.
Anything else, Natasha, you wanna add to that?
I think Rob just kind of hit the nail on the head with that as it pertains to opportunities for small businesses at this time. Yeah.
Perfect, thanks. And I like what you're saying, Rob, about choose what's right for your business. If it's a tap scale, then lean into that, and all types of business decisions take courage, because there is so much unknown. But try to choose and decipher what's right for your business. We're going to move on and talk about this time that we have to enhance our products or services. And so for some of us sitting at home, this has been a time to really get our snack game on and get really good at, I was speaking to a group on Monday, and I said, I think this is the first time I've worn pants with the buttons before 9 a.m. since March. But for some of us, we have been completely remote and working online. My business is completely online. And so we're out of routine, and we are, challenged just by, for me as a mom of 3 at home, I'm cleaning, I'm wiping faces and cleaning up and cooking and washing so many more dishes than I was used to doing before. So there's a challenge, of course, to just let things fizzle out. But how can we use this time to really enhance our services, enhance our product, and what are ways that you guys have done that in your businesses?
I like this because we've talked in some pretty big generalities, and I hope that's been encouraging. This is maybe a place where we can get into a little bit more specifics as it relates to something we all have to be good at every day. And that's, of course, our products and our services. I think that, part of what a business can do is to think about in a season perhaps of slowdown, at least in one way. It's not slow in the sense that you're frantically trying to figure out how to survive, but slower possibly in the sense that you may not have the same volume of customers. It could be a season to where, especially if you've been able to access PPP funds and keep your employees on, think about the opportunities that creates for enhancing their training. So maybe they're not needed so much in the day-to-day service of the customer because the volume is down, but imagine sending your employees or setting up a retreat, or having your employees do something that was extra focused, things that you wouldn't have had time to do before, extra focused on customer service and doing things that you only dreamed of doing if you had more time. So now this might be a chance to do that, even if you need to outsource that. I also think you have time potentially to really enhance your products. So I know in our case with the Well, we had to think differently about our products, or at least the channels through which we deliver our products. So it was a chance to get good at things that we were not necessarily good at before. And so in doing so, you end up creating additional revenue streams. So it's really neat right now for us to be able to look back and say, 3-4 months ago, we were only mediocre at curbside or delivery. And now 3-4 months later, we had to get good at that. And we've added a skill. We've added something that is now not only a skill, but an additional stronger revenue stream. So this is a chance to recalibrate in some ways, or to enhance your products and your services, and to maybe go back again to that passion that got you there from the beginning, to go back to that passion you had to create something that would serve a customer. This might give you a chance to go back and think about how much you really love what you're doing, and how much you really love solving problems for your customers, because you have to, again, be innovative again. And so I think it's a really unique opportunity we have to get better at the things that we were hopefully already good at, and to better serve our customers, to create better products. So I would just encourage you to be creative about what that might look like. And you may require some pivots. It may require a number of things to get there, but I hope that this can be a season, even though it's partially survival mode. I hope that you can think about, how do you thrive in this beyond just making it day to day? How can you get better and emerge from this better than you've ever been before?
Those are great points. I mean, for us, we have kind of broken this process into different compartments. So we have product enhancements in terms of which products we may be able to substitute for other products, especially when supply chain kind of took a turn, in certain businesses kind of halted operations for a little while. And it also gave us an opportunity to be able to advance the flavors that we wanted to eventually roll out. And so we've been able to kind of work on those and perfect those, even from what they were at the time that we were originally planning to roll them out. We also think about it in the vein of the customer, and for when the food truck relaunches on the streets of the city, how we can more efficiently serve customers. And so part of what's been worked on is the research component and development for mobile ordering apps, things like that, that can really help the customers have ease of order, but also help us in being able to delineate how effective that method of order receipt is compared to the traditional sense, wherein you have the admin with the phone and taking orders through that component, and it gives customers options. I think we are in a very unique time, as Lauren alluded to earlier, where we have all become technology dependent in the season, and so making sure that no aspect of the business can refrain itself from use of technology. I think that has been really paramount in being able to incorporate and make sure that you have multiple ways in which customers can engage, connect, interact, order, and be able to receive service in an efficient way. So that would be kind of my 2 cents to add to the notion of enhancing products and services in this season.
Thanks. This 2020 kind of gave us a little kick in the pants. We needed to attack some of the goals that maybe we had, but we were, as Rob mentioned earlier, we just kind of get into the mundane, to the day-to-day operations, and we lose that entrepreneurial spirit. So how to keep continuing to enhance our products and services. I want to talk about agility as well. And you guys have kind of touched on this word. This is we'll have a webinar actually coming up soon from the College of Business about agility specifically. So I don't want to step on any toes here, but at least for small businesses to have this idea that we have to constantly be in a position with our knees. Like I'm not a, maybe Rob should be the one. Natasha, maybe you're very athletic as well. Are you a sports girl? I've taught class with Rob.
In a former life.
In a former life, yeah, yeah. So I've taught class with Rob, and we like the basketball analogies a lot. So back from when I played basketball in like 5th grade, here's what I remember. You have to keep your knees soft. You have to be able to move quickly. And when you're standing in a statue, you know, makes it a lot harder to do what you need to do. So as businesses, how can we keep this agile posture? I'm thinking about my friends here. They have a couple of stores. One that they launched they launched their new brick and mortar in May, actually, and their sales for their first brick and mortar, because of their agility and because of their pivoting and really embracing this challenge, their sales this year have been over and beyond their sales last year in the same Q2, Q3. And so that's just really impressive to me that they were able to be so agile. What do you guys think about that? How can you speak into this?
So this is a really been an interesting challenge for me, particularly. You talked about being an athlete. Once upon a time, I used to be a cheerleader and a runner, and so while you lean on physical agility in that space, the muscles that I've been kind of trying to massage and work out for me have been the mental agility that it takes to weather the back-to-back circumstances that we found ourselves in. Again, you know, as an entrepreneur, any good business person, you make plans and you have a backup plan, and you might even have a backup plan for that backup plan. So you get through documenting plan A, B, and C without realizing that 2020 would push you in plan like QRS TUV. At least that's the way it felt when, you know, it was just kind of one thing after the next. But the agility that you have to first, like, mentally conceptualize that this is not over and it's not the end. It's not, even if you are a business that had to halt operations, you can have a grand reopening, or you can relaunch, or you can kind of tweak some things and propel forward in a different way. Don't discount the possibilities that can derive from this very moment of what we're experiencing and what we've been experiencing. So I think mental agility has been really important. You have to tell yourself, and it's going to be natural and normal to have those kind of like second doubts or second thoughts, like, did I launch this at the right time? Did this, was this a good idea in the first place? And the answer to all of that is still yes. And you have to just tell yourself and remind yourself yes. And in times where you are not sure that you can tell yourself that, I encourage you to, the scripture that does it for me is Jeremiah 29:11. And so I would encourage anyone who is struggling with that mental agility to be flexible, to kind of recondition or redirect and pivot your mind and your thoughts to the positives of what can be and what could be and what are to come by I would say meditating on scriptures like that.
Yeah, I like what you said, Natasha, about you put a real positive spin, especially on think about grand reopenings. Um, you can do things to emerge out of this that really highlight the fact that you learned to be agile and you pushed through and you made it. And I think this has put what all of us have been doing to the test so much that it's just naturally forced us to learn agility. I mean, I don't know of anyone that had planned for their 2020 budget for a pandemic. I mean, could any of us have ever imagined that there would ever be a day where it might not be safe to serve your products in your store, or that we would have the type of economic challenge that would push our business to the very brink of the cliff? And so the challenges have created this agility in all of us, that it's been a survive or die kind of thing. And so I hope that what we now can think about into the future is, while I'm not suggesting that you plan for a pandemic in, say, 2025 or 2030 and look ahead and have that size ability, or have that kind of, I don't think any of us have that kind of vision to plan for, but it does indeed help us to think, how do I better rethink emergency planning? I mean, sometimes that's tough. It's really hard to put money into a rainy day fund for your business. But I think this has reminded us of how precious it all is and how quickly it can be threatened or taken away from us. So I hope the agility the need to be agile has helped us to rethink what emergency planning looks like for the future. So I know in many ways this has for businesses that have had maybe something saved up, they have burned through those funds so quickly, and without some kind of access to capital, otherwise they wouldn't have made it. So some businesses are going to learn to better plan for the future, and this has been a tough lesson in that. And so to me, if for most of us, if we can push through a pandemic, it hopefully has prepared us for nearly anything. But it's also helped us to expect the unexpected, because again, who could have ever predicted what we just experienced? So I hope that agility will help us to become better and to be prepared for even the worst.
Thanks. I have a cousin who's a CPA for one of the largest retailers in our country, and he said you would be shocked at the tiny margins that we work off of. And so from the largest corporations down to the smallest businesses, the margins are tight all the time. And so the agility is so important, but it's that creative entrepreneurship that keeps things moving. We're going to wrap up here. If you guys have questions or questions, if you have answers to, please send them, because we will take answers ourselves. If you have anything you'd like to type in the box, we'll have a couple of minutes for questions and answers at the end. This is our last slide and our last topic. And we're going to talk about connecting emotionally with your patrons, because that emotional connection as a small business is really what continues to drive the loyalty from our customers, and something that takes the extra above and beyond on our part, but it's really why we do what we do. Our products and our services are here to really make a heart connection with our patrons. I'm thinking about, again, friends who own a business, and the conversation around masks has been so challenging to navigate for business owners. Do we recommend people wear a mask? Do we mandate that people wear a mask? And every city has different mandates. And if your local government hasn't created a mandate, what do you do as a business? And so in Murray County, we don't have a mandate for masks, but the whole conversation around this has tended to be so divisive that for my friends who own a business and have been trying to decide, what decision do we make for the sake of our business? Because we know that taking a stance is going to inevitably either bring us customers or send customers away. And I've really appreciated the way they've had that conversation. And they have been very open and honest to say, we love you all, and we are so thankful for your business. We also love our employees, and we care about them so much. And we feel that we want to protect them just as much as we want to protect you. And this is where we've kind of shaken out on the topic. But instead of just making a hard and fast rule and taped it to their front door of their brick and mortar, they have invited people into that conversation on their socials. And it's been hard for them to engage on that topic. But I think their vulnerability and their transparency has been really a deep connection. And I have watched so many patrons say, you will have my business just for your openness, and your honesty about what it's like to run your business. And so I know you guys have some ideas on this too. I wanted to just lay the groundwork for what I've seen in a tangible form of what this looks like. But what else do you want to share about the necessity of connecting emotionally with our patrons?
You said that really well. And the only thing I might add to that would just be the demonstrating the concern for our customers of how much we really do care about their health. And I think that this has become, as you mentioned, a pretty divisive issue. So hardly anything connects people more than crisis or challenge. When you talk about that emotional connection, I mean, yeah, there's connections in happy times, when you serve a customer and you give the product to them and you say, have a nice day. There's always a connection emotionally, or can be a connection that way. But there's also maybe a more deep connection through pain. And so just being aware of the pain points of your customer who are walking in wondering, how are you going to keep me safe if I come in your store? What precautions have you taken? And how can you demonstrate that to me? And also, how are you keeping your employees safe? How do I know, how can you assure me that you're not putting your employees in harm's way in order to serve me? What's been, I guess, disappointing and sad at the same time that I've seen happen is that, especially you mentioned the mask issue, Lauren, and I know that's has been a somewhat debatable and controversial thing among some. But, if you look at what's happened in some stores where someone came in and the employee insisted that the person wear a mask because they were instructed to, and that customer then reacts with some form of anger, or I've even seen stories of where fights broke out in stores over the mask wearing issue. So I think we have to think in terms of, how do I not just ask a customer to wear a mask in a very obligatory way, like, hey, right now, sir, you put on a mask. How do we demonstrate that in a way that's emotionally connected, that says something along the lines of, we truly care about you, we care about all of our customers? So I think we have to just use as an example to think about our messaging and how we do it, not just to become just enforcers of policies. We have to think about that emotional pain that our customers are experiencing. They've taken a risk to come into our stores if it's brick and mortar, or to shop with us. And we have to think about, how do we engage with them that way? And how do we assure them that they can be safe and shop with us, excuse me, at the same time? And so that emotional connection is very deeply important. And I think we are all challenged to think about how we best communicate in what is a very highly emotional world right now.
That's probably one of the disadvantages of having two other dynamic business owners as part of the panel, because you guys have summed it up very nicely. And I think I agree, obviously, with both of you. The empathy, context of being able to emotionally connect, I think is probably what underscores what both of you have already said, and being able to support in a servant leadership way, putting not just your consumers, but also your team members in a mindset to understand that you care and are concerned about their safety and well-being. And so I think I don't know that there is a greater value that individuals would have and take away from what we offer beyond products and services, when you get to the heart of the caring, the concern, and being empathetic towards them, because we realize that not everyone is as that not everyone has the same degree of health and strength, and so you don't want to at any cost sacrifice anyone's uh, health dimensions. And so you just want to, and not just their health, but their emotional well-being. I mean, a lot of people have been quarantining since March, and so even in terms of just how you treat people, I think it's treating people kindly, with empathy, whether, and I say that, I guess, to the extent of whether or not you have consumers that wear a mask, that as the business owner, I feel not just obligated, but compelled to do that, because whether we agree or not is not the core issue. Like, I still care, and I'm still wanting to be supportive of you in as we get through this, and as we get through this together, particularly. So I think you guys did an excellent job. So I'll digress and just end with that. I agree with what both of you have shared.
Thank you. I love the word empathy, Natasha, and let us just end with that. Not just in the way that we function in our businesses, not just in the way that we engage with our employees, not just in the way that we talk with our patrons, but in the way that we converse over a dinner table, and the way that we engage with the people across the street from us. The way that we work with our church family, because we're just messy. Humans are so dynamic, and the fluidity and the agility is needed mentally, just like you said, Natasha, in all of those relationships. So let's wrap it up with just a push for empathetic conversations, and letting empathy drive us and how we function in the marketplace and outside the marketplace. I hope this has been helpful for those of you who have logged on. If you're watching this after the recording, thank you for coming and joining us. Thank you, Rob and Natasha, for sharing the mic with me here and allowing me to serve alongside of you at Lipscomb. It's a joy to be on a team with you guys, and to get to work with our students in the classroom. We would love to be a resource for the community as well. So if there's anything else that you guys want to say, jump on now. We didn't have any questions to answer, so feel free to wrap up, and we'll just, I think this recording will be available after we finish here.
I'll just say again, thank you for those of you that joined today and those of you that are watching after. It's been a real pleasure to be able to have this conversation. And if we can do anything to serve you beyond this conversation, please don't hesitate to be in touch. We know that it's not easy being a business owner or be engaged in business right now. So we'd love to speak any encouragement we can into your journey. So thank you.
I'd also like to thank everyone for tuning in today, and also thank the people behind the scenes that have made this possible. Our Career Connections office at Lipscomb, Suzanne Sager and her amazing team, Davis Brown, and you all for being amazing co-panelists. This has been great, and I've gotten some good information out of this, and learned from you guys as well. So thank you everybody.
Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day.